Howdy, Space Rangers, Captain Phoenix here. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure to leave a comment, hit that subscribe button and hit subscribe. I don't know why I kept saying subscribe so many times. Anyways, guys, I'm just messing. You already know what to do. You've been on YouTube long enough, you know the gist. Anyways, let's talk about today's video. Alright, so let me give my reasoning before I start this video, because I might get some flack or some hate from both the creator and some of his fans. So the video I'm reacting to today is a video from Film Theory, a very popular YouTube channel, about Star Wars, where he says maybe the Empire was right, or maybe the Empire wasn't that bad, or the Empire was sort of good, guys. So let me talk about Film Theory before I start reacting to his video. Film Theory is a channel that makes like a lot of theories on a lot of movies. This is kind of like the spice I like, and he's really good. He really does his research. He really does his homework, and he sometimes he may even do too much research, but he does it all in the sake of naming a theory. And again, none of his theories are canon to the movies or franchises in question, and he always ends the video by saying it's just a theory. Do not take it as actual facts. Do not take it as a word. It is not canon. So that is it. He just makes conspiracy theories on movies and TV shows that are like really popular. Again, despite some kind of interested in. And so yeah, he's a great guy, great channel. Go follow him, go subscribe to him and such. I'll leave a link to his video down in the description below because I am reacting to it. So yeah. I guess let me talk about the reasons I'm reacting to his video. Normally I don't react to other YouTube channels, not that much. I usually just do movie trailers. However, there was this one video he did this week about how the Empire could possibly not be bad, guys. It's a nice conspiracy theory, nice title, energy. I'm interested. You had my attention. Wait, no, you had my curiosity. Now you have my attention. And so when I was done watching it, I'm like, I'm not fully agreeing with this. I don't think his video was bad. I don't think it was a bad video or anything. I don't know. I don't fully agree with some of the points he was saying, and I felt too lazy to write it down in the comments, so I decided to make a video about it. So take your pick about which was more whack in the end. So yeah, I decided to just find out. I don't even know why I'm not filming this outside like I usually do. So I just decided to rewatch his video with you guys and pick on the little points I was having issues with. And yeah, cause as you know, I'm a bit of a Star Wars fan. I've read some of the books. I've watched all the movies. Watched all the TV shows. Haven't read a single comic though, and I know some stuff about Star Wars. However, this guy does like so much research, so I figured this video would be a debate between me and him. We'd have a debate between MatPat from Film Theory, who does all his research and knows almost everything from the Star Wars universe, versus me, a Star Wars fan who has seen all the movies and read some of the books, and I'm putting some of my knowledge in this. The battle may seem unfair, I may lose, but I don't know, I just didn't agree with some of the points in this video, and it's not, again, I don't hate the video, go watch it, I'm leaving the link in the description, but I don't know, there were some points I didn't fully agree with, and I thought I would react to them with you guys. So I've probably talked, and I've probably lost a lot of time, and a lot of you have probably clicked off the video, so without further ado, let's get into MatPat's Film Theory. The Empire wasn't that bad, or how the Mandalorian proves the Empire was right. Let's begin.
Emperor Palpatine is secretly a Sith Lord who can shoot lightning bolts from his hands. Definitely seems evil, but no one knows that. Heck, that'd be like if the President of the United States was secretly a member of the Illuminati. You'd never know. I mean, seriously, maybe he can shoot lightning from his hands. The long and short of it is...
That wasn't a point he made. I just found that to be very funny. I don't know why I found it to be funny.
My attention. Delivered by Werner Herzog's character, the Client.
The Empire improves every system it touches, judged by any metric. Safety, prosperity, trade, opportunity, peace. Compare imperial rule to what is happening now. Look outside. Is the world more peaceful since the revolution? I see nothing but death and chaos.
Now, of course, we can't just automatically accept everything that he's saying at face value. After all, he's the bad guy, and from the way he says we when talking about the Empire, we can assume that he was affiliated with them, meaning he's not exactly the most unbiased person. But the Mandalorian shows us that the Client isn't the only one who seems to feel that the New Republic hasn't been doing their job of keeping the galactic peace. Look no further than this line from Episode 3 between Mando and Greef.
All that are left mercenaries and warlords. But if it bothers you, just go back to the core and report them to the New Republic. That's a joke.
As a reminder, this is a conversation that's taking place several years after the New Republic won in Return of the Jedi, replacing the rule of the Empire as the legitimate galactic government. And in this one line, we see the idea that the New Republic would actually send a peacekeeping force to Navarro is actually so laughable that Mando considers it a joke. It's almost like that entire part of the galaxy is a neighborhood where it's not even worth calling the cops because the cops never come. The New Republic is failing in some of the most basic duties.
Okay, so that's his first point, that the New Republic fails in organizing systems out in the Outer Rim, or at least keeping entire what do you call it, entire systems under control, and that they only favor the core world. Mind you, he said earlier that it's only been 5 years since Return of the Jedi. That's when the Mandalorian takes place, after 5 years after Return of the Jedi. And I don't care which government you're from or which universe you're from, it's gonna be pretty hard taking down a government and then rebuilding another one over an entire galaxy in 5 years. That's a hard task, I'm pretty sure. And mind you, this is not even like a full 5 years after the Republic won the war, because if you know from Battlefront 2, the video game, we find out that the true final battle against the Empire was the Battle of Jakku, a year after Return of the Jedi, meaning that this is technically 4 years after the New Republic has been established. So, that's 4 years. That's so what I'm hearing from this guy is that he's telling me in 4 years he's expecting the entirety of the New Republic to govern the entirety of these galaxies. And considering this is an outer rim planet, he really thinks that in 4 years they would have been able to get law and peace there. Yeah, it's true. In real life, there are some back alleys that don't have cops in them, but I find this to be like, I don't know, a weird complaint considering it's only been 4 years since the end of the war. But whatever. Next point.
What we're learning here is that overthrowing a government is a whole heck of a lot easier than building up new governments to effectively replace them. In
Which
fact,
is true. I fully agree with him on that point. Overthrowing a government, so much easier than building your own. Not that I've ever done that in my life. Please don't report me.
places like Mandalorian's Navarro being ignored by the what's known as the Tarkin Doctrine, we get this. The factor that contributed most to the demise of the Republic was not, in fact, the war, but rampant self-interest, and in the end left the body politic feckless and corrupt. Consider the self-interest of the core worlds, unwavering in their exploitation of the outer systems for resources, the outer systems themselves undermined by their permissive disregard of smuggling and slavery, those ambitious members of the Senate who sought only status and opportunity. By partitioning the galaxy into regions, we, the Empire, actually achieve a unity previously absent. Where once our loyalties and allegiances were divided, they now serve one being, with one goal, a cohesive galaxy in which everyone prospers. For the first time in 1,000 generations, our sector governors will not be working solely to enrich Coruscant and the core worlds, but to advance the quality of life in the star systems that make up each sector, keeping the spaceways safe, maintaining open and accessible communications, assuring that tax revenues are properly levied and allocated to improving the infrastructure. That doesn't sound all that evil. In fact,
Okay. So basically, what I got from that was that Tarkin was writing, again, his doctrine about how before, during the Old Republic, the core worlds would take resources from the outer rim worlds. So again, it's as I said earlier that it seems to be fact that during the Old Republic, the core worlds were in fact favored by the Republic, and that we know Coruscant, the capital of the galaxy, is where all of this madness was taking place in. I don't know how should I say. I guess I should let him finish his point, but again, I feel like with starting a new, what do you call it, a new republic or a new government, it's still gonna take time. Like the outer systems will have to wait, but whatever.
it sounds pretty sweet for the outer system planets who, based on what Tarkin is saying, was getting abused by the core worlds under the Republic system. It sounds like it was kind of like in the Hunger Games. The outer districts were stuck giving all their best resources.
By the way, I love Tarkin as a character. I might borrow those sentences he said for my for a book that I may want to write in the future. I'm a plagiarist.
Ewoks. As we learn about in the short story The Guns of Kilrodo Eye, the Empire manages to restore order and rule of law in 8 separate sectors, liberating 95 worlds. According to the Essential Guide for Warfare, this was a time of celebration, as the rule of law gets returned to sectors that had long been taken over by piracy and crime. Citizens who were disillusioned by the corrupted Galactic Senate were now given a new hope, and their name wasn't Luke Skywalker, it was, well, whatever their Empire-appointed local governor was. I mean, what was it that Darth Vader said to Luke again?
Join me, and I will complete your training with our combined strength. We can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy.
Nothing about power or control. He talks about ending the conflict and bringing order to the galaxy. Luke and the other rebels might have fancied the idea of creating a better, more utopian vision where the Imperial government didn't have to rely on military might to maintain the order, but as we see in the sequels, doesn't work out at all. The New Republic clearly struggles with the structure and order necessary to maintain such a huge body of governance. Not only did they fail in the short-term 5 years later future that
From what that was his next point, that the Republic needed to separate the galaxy into small chunks, something that the Empire did, and the Republic itself wasn't doing well with those chunks. In fact, the New Republic tried to be an overall blanket, which again, take your pick. It depends on what you think. Like, should the galaxy have been divided into chunks, or should it be ruled over one? I can't say anything because I'm not brave enough for politics. What I am brave enough for is, let's back it up a bit,
at all.
is that the New Republic wanted to create a galaxy that was weapon free, or at least was as least violent as possible, whereas the Empire used military methods to control the people. In fact, that's what was Palpatine. Did I just say Palpatine? That's what Palpatine was famous for, is that he controlled the galaxy through fear. And so the New Republic wanted to make sure that they didn't use police brutality, or at least in this universe, stormtrooper brutality, in order to keep the people under a leash. They needed to remove the weapons. Again, we know it didn't work out in the long run, but you can't really call an organization evil for having a dream, but whatever.
In the short-term 5 years later future that we see in The Mandalorian, but they also fail on a much bigger scale. The sequel trilogy shows us what happened under the New Republic. Somehow, under their noses, the First Order, which I should remind you is different from the structure and manning of the Empire and actually a far more evil organization, they managed to amass enough power to create a Starkiller base that just...
Okay. One, how did they fail in the 5-year future? He never really explains how the Republic failed in the 5-year future. He's gonna say, obviously we heard him say earlier that all they saw was death and chaos, but again, those are from the Imperial's eyes, A. B, even, it doesn't take 4 years to build an entire government. That takes time. It takes time, it takes effort to build something from the ground up, and not, I mean, and it's not just even like a government for one country, it's a government for the entire galaxy. I don't agree with you on that first point. On the second point, yeah, I agree with you. The First Order and the New Republic not noticing, that was a big oof on their part.
completely obliterates the capital city of the New Republic. I'm sorry, did I say the capital city? I meant the capital planet, as well as 4 others. I mean, how badly do you have to fail at defense and national security in order for that one to happen? And
Okay, yeah, that was funny. I'll give him that.
Republic, which again was supposed to be a galaxy-spanning union of planets, has utterly folded under the pressure and become a ragtag group of resistance members who are fleeing the First Order. Again, think about how crazy that is. Supposedly, one of the planets that the rebels liberated from the Empire rule in Episode 6 was Coruscant, which has a population of 1 trillion sentient creatures, at least half of which are human. And now, just a couple decades later, somehow the last vestiges of the Republic stand at several hundred people strong. That is over 99.9999999.
So he's saying that in the 30 years in between, the New Republic was such an unstable government that it couldn't even hold its own after one attack from the First Order. Which, again, the sequel trilogy has gone out of its way to show us that there were flaws. So I don't disagree with him on that point. I think that was more of him pointing something out to help his theory, so it's not really like a point that he claims. So it's like, whatever.
lost in that attack. I'm not saying that the Empire were the good guys by any means, I'm just saying they were more effective at ruling a galaxy. However, if you
Big
hold
brain
that
time.
action
This is
against the
big brain
Empire,
time.
shouldn't you also be holding it against the Republic? Because let's get real here, they also do their fair share of murder, and also at a near planetary scale. I'll let the movie Clerks explain this.
The first Death Star was manned by the...
It's the indigenous Ewoks of Endor.
Yeah, this is what I want to
There
get to
is
say.
blood on everyone's hands. And don't for a second think that the Republic wasn't above those sorts of actions either. In Return of the Jedi, Luke manipulates the indigenous Ewoks of Endor, convincing them that C-3PO was a golden god who would smite them if they failed to assist the rebels in their war efforts.
3PO, tell them if they don't do as you wish, you become angry and use your magic.
Let's see, pushing the indigenous people into your own military conflict, making them believe that God is commanding them to do so. I know Vader and his friends are called the Empire, but if someone here is guilty of cultural imperialism, it's not the guys who are wearing stormtrooper outfits. And I mean that quite literally too. The relationship that Luke has with the Ewoks stands in stark contrast to the way that the Empire treated them. Before the rebels
Okay, he has like so much more to say. I'll play it, but like let me just say my first thoughts throughout. You did not play the full clip, sir. Before, okay. So here's the thing. He was gonna say, basically spoiler alert. He was gonna say that the Empire lived side by side with the Ewoks and they didn't have any trouble with them. First of all, how do you know that for sure? Because the first time we see the Ewoks, they didn't contact the Empire. They made contact with the rebels. So we never saw what the Ewoks did to the Empire. Maybe they weren't happy that the Empire were claiming on their land. He also goes ahead to point out that the Empire didn't pull down any trees, which fair enough. I didn't see a clearing of the forest, so he gets a pass on that one. But there's also another point he said of where Luke tricked the Ewoks into fighting for them. Here's the thing. One, the rebels should not have included the Ewoks into their battle. I agree. That was below the belt. But that wasn't Luke commanding the Ewoks. In fact, if anything, the Ewoks joined the rebels' battle out of choice. Because what happened is, what you're missing from the clip, Bucko, was when Luke was telling 3PO to let them go. He was telling 3PO to let them go from the fire. The Ewoks were gonna eat Luke, Han, and Leia. But he told 3PO to command the Ewoks to let them go. And so he wasn't telling the Ewoks to work for him. He was telling the Ewoks to spare his life. Then afterward, in the tent, that tent scene where 3PO is telling the story, that's when the Ewoks chose to side with them. Because 3PO sat down in his seat and he told the Ewoks the story of all the adventures, of how they blew up the first Death Star, of how Luke ran away from Vader, and the Battle of Hoth, and all of this crazy stuff. That is when the Ewoks chose to help the rebels. They heard the stories from 3PO. 3PO didn't command the Ewoks to fight with them. The Ewoks chose to fight with the rebels. So, again, you're missing something, buddy. Luke didn't command the Ewoks to fight with the rebels. He told the Ewoks to let him go. Big difference. The Ewoks chose, is what I'm saying.
showed up, the Empire stormtroopers mostly ignored the Ewoks. They weren't destroying huge portions of the forest to create their shield generator. The
He
design
says showing a big clearing of the forest, but again, we didn't see the Empire bring down any trees, so I can't say anything for certain.
almost seems like it was created to minimize the environmental impact. The Empire wasn't trying to crush the Ewoks or even rule over them. The Empire and the Ewoks were both pretty much live and let live, peacefully coexisting without any sort of conflict, which again gets to my main point about how life under the so-called oppressive Empire wasn't really all that bad if you are a regular galactic citizen or a regular Ewok. It wasn't until Luke showed up and brought the Ewoks into his war that they started dying.
Again, they chose to fight alongside him. Luke only told them to spare his and his friends' lives because they were gonna be barbecued.
Look, let me reiterate this. I'm not saying the Empire was perfect. In fact, it's pretty far from perfect. The Emperor was basically a dictator. The Empire is autocratic. I can totally see why Luke would be attracted to the idea of joining a rebellion to fight it. But if you compare the Empire to what came before during the prequels and what came after in the sequel trilogy, it starts to look like the best of the three systems to live under. The movies give us a skewed perception of what the Empire is. From the rebels' perspective, of course the Empire is going to seem evil because if you're in the rebellion, the Empire is trying to kill all of your friends. However, the Empire is attacking the rebels only because the rebels are trying to destroy the Empire. For your average galactic citizen, life under the Empire was about as good as you could get. Or as Werner Herzog's character puts it in The Mandalorian,
The Empire improves improves every system it touches.
And even though our main guy Mando might take issue with Empire apologists like the Client, deep in his heart, he knows that life isn't actually better under the New Republic. But hey, that's...
So that's basically what he has to say. Before he gives his infamous catchphrase, let me just make one more point. There was a point he probably said about slavery that I didn't hear, or it was something I read down in his comments below, but it was also to do with slavery. The Republic ignored slavery because in the Outer Rim, slavery was like a huge thing. The Republic didn't do anything about slavery, they just sort of turned a blind eye to it. The Empire enforced slavery. Let's not forget Kashyyyk. The Empire invaded Kashyyyk and got most of the Wookiees to start building the Death Star for them. So, and we know, and I know from the books, Palpatine was a racist. He did not like aliens, which is why stormtroopers were mostly, well, not even mostly, were all human. Palpatine did not like aliens in his special force, which is why even Grand Admiral Thrawn is such a respected Star Wars character, because he's like the only alien to be at an admiral state. So we know Palpatine is racist against aliens, which I'm surprised is even the emperor. And second, we know the Empire enforced slavery from the Wookiees on Kashyyyk. So we know the Empire doesn't just turn a blind eye to slavery like the Republic did. They actually help it. Whereas the Republic was just like, oh, I'm just gonna look over here while that happens over there. So again, you choose the lesser of two evils. Either you choose a system that ignored it, or you choose a system that supports it. Either way, you're gonna be screwed in the end. So again, those are just my thoughts on this video. On rewatching it again for the second time, I wasn't as confused or as I want to say angry as the first time. I wasn't angry the first time. I was just a bit not mad, just a bit, how should I say, just a bit disconnected the first time. Like I think rewatching it on the second time opened my mind a bit more. Though I still stand by the points I said in this video. But again, go watch his channel. It's a good channel. I'm not making this video to call out his channel for being bad or being inaccurate or anything. I'm just saying it's a good channel. And you should go watch it, subscribe to him. Link down below. But I'm not going to say my normal catchphrase of I'll see you in another universe. I'll let him say the catch.
Though our main guy Mando might
Just
take
give a
issue with
second,
Empire apologists like the Client, deep in his heart, he knows that life isn't actually better under the New Republic. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory.